Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody. The podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I've got two really fun special guests on. So we have Courtney Varner, who is the Director of Communications at Bo's Place. And we have Shelby Seligmann, who is the co-chair of the upcoming Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes. And I love a good themed event around a holiday. And we were even talking about around, this particular day, whether or not it is a holiday. I consider it a holiday, and that is Kentucky Derby Day. And it is one of the most fun days and fun times that you can throw an event. And Bo's Place, in my opinion, has the best Derby Day party of any organization in Texas who hosts a fundraiser. It's been going on for many years. They've had it at a host of different places, and it's always a lot of fun. So we're really fortunate to have the expertise of these two people on today. So with that, Courtney, Shelby, welcome. And I'm just so thrilled you all are here today.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. So, Courtney, I'm going to address the first question to you. So, tell us a little bit about what the mission of Bo's Place is.
Bo's Place was founded in 1990, 36 years ago. Our mission is to enhance the lives of those who have experienced the death of a loved one. And what we are is we're a bereavement center. We're a place for children and families to come find community and support through the free grief support groups that we offer. And that's one thing that makes Bo's Place really unique is our services for children. Even though we offer services for everybody, what it is how we started out is children, and we continue to be true to that mission to help heal hearts in Houston and beyond.
Well, I'm glad you brought that piece up about, it started as children, but you expanded to cover the whole family because loss happens at any age. And, it's a universal thing. It's almost like there's kind of like two things that people will kind of experience and everybody touches. One is grieving the loss of another loved one. The other one is cancer. So I'm really glad that you're doing that. And you have services really for the entire lifespan of people to do that. And, I always like asking this question of guests. And Shelby, I want you to answer first, and then Courtney, I'd like for you to share. But how did you initially get involved with with this organization, with Bo's Place?
Yes. So I initially got involved, I think, in 2017. I am in the unique position where I feel like I do a lot of fundraising and nonprofit type of things for work. And then also I have my older sister. I was 26, she was 29. She was pregnant with her first child. She'd been married for a year or a few years, and she passed away in a car accident on I-10, which was just wildly unexpected. And I don't think I'd had anything that was truly tragic happen in my life before. I had a grandparent or two pass away at that point, but not someone who was that close to me and that young, who was in such a surprising way in my life. Had this loss for the first time in my life. I'd really never experienced anything like it. So her name was Brooke, and she was just the most fabulous sister any other girl, or even if it was a brother, whatever, could have ever asked for. And so I went through the Bo's Place process, and it was something that was introduced to me. I didn't know how to grieve or what the steps were, or what that looked like, or how I didn't know how I was going to feel. And I went to a private therapist, and that really wasn't working out. And someone suggested this to my parents. I think my entire family, frankly, we all went, my parents included. And that introduction to Bo's Place and going through it ourselves, we're like, what is this place? And then we did the 9-week program, and it was so amazing. We were so moved by it. We felt like going through the process of those steps was really helpful for us individually. It was helpful for me and my relationship with my boyfriend at the time, now husband. And it was really great between our family dynamic. So between me and my parents, I also have a twin sister who is also co-chair of this event. Our interworkings of each other. How do we get through this together and make sure that we all stay together through this process? So that was our first introduction to Bo's Place, and then it's been almost 9 years now, and we kind of left it for a little bit afterwards, and went through our grieving and process. And then this year, we've always kind of supported them from afar. And then this year, having the connection again to Courtney and to Rachel Daniels, we were obviously close with this organization, and it's something that we felt like we really wanted to run with, and felt like with the grieving, all the types of grieving that's happened last year, that it was a really important event for us to step in and chair this event.
Wow, gosh, I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss, but gosh, that is such a powerful way to be involved. What I find really fascinating was, you kind of, like you said, you supported from afar and then came back, to co-chair Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes this year. What made you decide this was kind of the right time for you to step back in, into this organization and be a little bit more involved, more involved internally as opposed to maybe a little bit more peripherally?
But just probably the first, I don't know. I don't know that it ever is like the right time, but the very early years, I think it's not just like, oh, we're sad for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. I mean, it's really 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years that you really feel like I could crumble into pieces talking about this. And I think that now it's been almost 9 years, and I feel like I'm at a point where I'm not so internally focused on my own grieving, where I feel like I can kind of pivot and look at others and say, this is what helped me, and this is how Bo's Place helped me. And to really um, make, I mean, I've not put this into words before, so sorry that I'm like stumbling
Oh,
through this.
no, please.
um, I feel like it's a good time to kind of pivot and say, who in this community can we wrap our arms around and help and move forward? And I think that's one thing that called to me. And the first few years of grieving, you are so focused on trying to get through it yourself that you can't really pivot to help others quite yet. And so now I feel like we're at a time where I really, I really want to pivot and help others and wrap around my arms around them, and just, I know that no one wants to hear it's going to be okay, and that, time is healing, and those types of things. But it is true. I think time is healing. And so um, I, I don't know. That was my own experience about going through this situation. So the early years were too hard to kind of be so, uh, having so much responsibility with an event like this.
It's so inspiring. And what I love about your answer and just your spirit is you feel you're in a place now where you can pay it forward and, help other
That's a great way
families.
to put it. I don't know that I've truly answered that question out loud before. So, um, it's yes, paying it forward is exactly how I would put it.
It's so well said. And Shelby, I really appreciate you sharing that. And Courtney, I want to hear, from an organizational side, what made you, decide to, plant your career roots in an organization? I know you and I, have, know each other and worked with each other through various things over the years, but what has made you, you know, join Bo's Place and really make it a substantial part of your, professional journey?
I started working here almost 18 years ago, and it's if you've ever actually been to Bo's Place and seen our space, it's so beautiful and it feels like a home. And when you come in and you see these kids come in, and I think one of the most impactful things I just started, and we have this chalkboard upstairs called the Grief Gripes board, and the kids can write on there whatever they want. And this third grader had written on there, "Your fish dying is not the same as my mom dying." And I remember that little kid coming here thinking, all these kids at school, they don't get it. That's their fish dying is not like my mom dying. And then they met another kid and they're like, wait, your mom died too? Oh my gosh, I am not alone. I am not alone. And for people to get that sense of not being alone when often they do feel so isolated in grief is so healing. And so to see that happening on a daily basis is what keeps me coming back. I even tried to quit after I had my first child, and I just couldn't say goodbye. It's such a the work is so meaningful, and everybody here has such a heart for helping people, and it's just a special organization. So that's why I stay, and it's all part of the
Wow.
journey.
Well, it's incredible that you've been involved with the organization for, 20 years. Because I mean, there have been a lot of advances in mental health, and I think there's much more open conversation about it now than there was even, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I love that you've stayed and you've just feel so passionate about this organization and, wanting to help families heal. And I love that story about the child and just people want to be able to relate to other people who have gone through the same thing. And I lost someone very close to me once myself, and having other people who went through those same experiences, they weren't necessarily easy to find. And that's what I admire about those places is not that you make it easier to find, but the odds of finding people who have gone through your situation are much higher in a place like Bo's Place than it is just trying to find it on your own. That's why what you do is so important.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I
And
like that. I think that was like one of the most amazing parts of going through the process too. Is like
yeah.
we were put in a group of people who were had also lost a sibling who were also of similar age than us. So there's a really intimate and thoughtful way that those places looking at how they're grouping these people together and what their similarities are and where they find common ground in this grief. So it's really impressive, um, the entire way they put it together. And I
You know,
think like just our situation, like we have a group chat with some other girl, my sister and I have a group chat with some other girls who it's been going since 2017. So it's lasts beyond the 9 weeks of the grief program. It's so much further than that. It's been 9 years, and it's something that we thought was only going to last 9 weeks. So it's truly amazing, just beyond um, the actual time you are spending there.
and Shelby, that's such a great point. I was speaking to somebody we had the Shelby hosted the host committee kickoff party last week, which was fabulous. And gosh, side note, what a great turnout of just friends who love and support them. It was incredible. But I was talking to somebody who had been through the group, and that's another great thing about these groups is death is universal. Like everybody's going to experience it at some point. And so these groups consist of every type of person. Like there is no, we serve people on all different economic scales, all backgrounds. So you could be sitting in a room with somebody that you probably would never have met otherwise, but you have something in common now. And we see so many people bond over that. And it just, it's real special.
Uh, absolutely. And great point, Courtney and Shelby. I just love that, 9 years later, you're still in touch with the people that you went through that journey with, and that you've created this community that you can always rely on. I just think that's just so cool. And I think that shows the power of what Bo's Place does as an organization. That really is the perfect story to encapsulate that. And Courtney, I'm glad you brought up the kickoff event you recently had, because the Hearts House and Horseshoes is coming up. Obviously, Shelby is a co-chair and you're with the organization. What advice would you give to somebody looking to create a strong relationship between an event chair and an organization so that the event is as successful as everybody wants it to be?
Well, I think the most important thing is something you're seeing play out right here is having chairs who care. Having a chair who cares about the organization and is invested in the mission. And the people who are going to come to this are people who love Shelby and her sister and her family. And so that's where it starts, having chairs who care, because that's really that's what drives the event. The chairs make a lot of decisions. They help create the guest list. So that would be the best starting point. Find chairs who care.
Well, and Shelby definitely does. And Shelby, I'd like your take on it, especially as someone who, like you said, you were obviously heavily involved and went through the process, and then you supported it however you can, and you step back in. So talk about the importance of having a good relationship with those places so that you're able, so that you're feeling comfortable in the outcome of the event as well.
Um, I'd say that they obviously opened their arms to me when we went through the process, and then we kind of took a step back and had some time. But then stepping back in, it was like they were always there. Their was always open to me and my sister and my family, even though it had been a number of years since we'd really kind of communicated with them. It was such an easy transition back because they are have such warm, open arms and open hearts and open doors, and they just are so welcoming on that front. And so I think I had run into um, Rachel Daniels, development director. I knew the previous co-chairs of this event last year, and that's kind of how it got segued to me this year. And they said, "Hey, it's been a minute. Do you want to come back in and step back in and help here?" And so, in a different light, right? This is a totally different way of how I've ever business wise or in a way I feel like this is like a job of being this co-chair and how to step back in. And it was really they made it really easy and it was really fun to do. Whereas the grieving part was not fun, I'll say that. And then the getting to know the people and having our group text and our chat and our friends, that has become more fun over time. And now we have like silly memes we'll send to each other. And now this planning things feels more of a fun business way. And this is a bright, bold, fun event to plan. I will say that. They want to keep it. Uh, this is the 10th year of the event, which I think is really important. And it's it has been such a success. I think everyone is open, communicative. Um, Even though it is a nonprofit situation, there's definitely a business mindset of like, we want to be executing upon this to make it the most successful event possible.
Absolutely. And, I'm really glad you said that. And like the through line of what I heard you say, Shelby, was
Yep.
trust that I saw. And it really balances the people who care because if you care, it's easier to trust and vice versa. So I really, I appreciated both of you, putting your answers in there. And Courtney, I want to direct this back to you, having been involved, and seen the evolution of this event over the last decade, there are always going to be new people in because chairs are going to bring in their own audiences. But events don't last a decade without kind of a devoted following of people who really want to attend every year. So, what is something a person or an organization can do to create that devoted following for an annual fundraising event so that people do come back every year?
I mean, I think that we need to always make sure and thank our guests for coming and thank our donors. I mean, anytime people do something for Bo's Place, whether it's giving a monetary gift or an in-kind or volunteering, we try and show so much gratitude for every single action. We try to show appreciation and just to really make sure that they know that whatever their contribution was, that it matters and it's important to us, and that we see them and. Because also we're going to be here for them one day. And again, it comes back to this idea that grief is universal. So we, kind of like what Shelby see, we're here for everybody in some way, shape, or form. And so we just want to make sure people remember Bo's Place. So showing that gratitude when we get those gifts, I think is one of the most important things we can do.
Very well said. And, the gratitude piece is really because when people feel valued, they're going to be much more likely to come back when they feel seen. And, there's all different types of ways that people can be seen. But the fact that you make that a concerted part of it is really, really important. And Shelby, I want to direct, this question kind of back from a chair's perspective. And, this event has been going on for a decade now. So talk about how, as an event chair, you work to put your own stamp on an event that's already a part of an existing successful event, that's been running for a while.
I think it's a fabulous event that has such a clear kind of signature element with the Kentucky Derby theme. We obviously didn't want to mess with that at all. I think we're so grateful that they've built this up for 9 years and counting. And this will be the 10th year. So we have a new idea for the event. It's a dedication bench garden where we have 5 benches that are being, in addition to our silent auction, we'll also auction off these benches, which will have brass plates where you can have your loved one's named etch or whatever you want on etched on there for you to kind of take home after the event. But we thought it was a new, interesting way to, in addition to our silent auction, have something memorable for people who have lost a loved one, to come and uh, have a dedication bench for someone they love in our little garden. So we're excited to see that come to life in this specific event and for hats, hearts, and horseshoes.
Courtney, do you have something to add?
Well, I was just gonna say, Shelby and her sister also have this year both a challenge and an opportunity because we're changing venues for the first time, or from where we had been. We're at a whole new facility this year. So, like I said, it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity that they're going to do some really fun things with. So we're excited to be at the Revere this year, and I think it will just allow them to. She may not know what her signature thing is going to be, but I promise you there's going to be something really cool that comes out of this that we will be able to attribute to them.
Well, let's talk about that venue wise. And, like the year that I went to it, I think it was at the Houston Polo Club, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably real hot or rainy.
It was, I'll say it was toasty. That year, it was the same day as the coronation. So there was a lot happening in Houston. There was lots of big giant hats everywhere for a myriad of reasons that day. Um, so talk a little bit about how the venue fits in with the theme because and the Rivera is a great space. So, and I also get that, you kind of have to keep your donors on their toes and kind of shifting and shaping things. So talk about, how the Rivera will allow you to put, as an organization, put a different spin on what you've done with the event over the past decade.
You want
And
me to talk about
yeah,
that?
please. Yeah, please,
Okay.
Courtney.
I think it's going the space itself. I mean, it's going to allow us to do some of the things that have become signature parts, like our racing wall, where everybody gets to, bet on the horse that they think is going to do. We still are going to have, the giant screen where we all get to watch the race and stuff. But I think, so it's allowing us to do those signature things that our event has been known for. But I think just the change of scenery and the change of pace and something new is what's going to draw, some new friends. And I think it'll be very exciting. I don't know what the final outcome is on how everything's going to look. There's some things that will be surprises to me too, but I think Shelby and her sister are just really working so hard to make it awesome. And I'm excited for this opportunity.
Awesome. And Shelby, I kind of want to kind of piggyback off of what Courtney said and kind of put it in a different spin from a chair's lens. And that is, talk about how, because there's lots of people that do derby parties. So talk about, as an event chair, how you are able to amplify the event to your crowd so that they're picking Bo's Place to go to over something that they may have been going to derby wise for a longer period of time, and you're asking them to kind of shift and support you and support your efforts with this organization.
I was like always talking about my own experience with those places, kind of how we're shifting people and inviting them to come to our event. It's something that, um, if you knew me at this time, it was very clear that we were in a deep grieving process. And I just feel like when you're a chair of something of an organization that you've also attended, that's a pretty unique experience. I mean, that's truly how I feel like, we've made such good strides and such a great like host committee turnout party, this past Thursday, and that's how I feel like we're going to be getting people to the event as well. It's a unique experience, and it's not just, I have a passion for this organization because of XYZ. It's something that I lived and breathed this grieving situation with this organization, and I would love for you to come support it. And that's truly how I feel like, we've made such good connections with people and our deep long-standing friendships with people who will, maybe switched from another event to our event to come. Um, and the event itself, I think, will be so interesting, um, and fabulous. I think we want to, really make sure like it's a visual and sensory, beautiful, just consistent with you're talking about, the Revere. So just
Mhm.
visual consistency across all of it. So decor, lighting, music, the fun dress code, the fun drinks, the staff styling. I mean, just I think all of that in a really big package tied up with a bow, always makes it a really fun event and really, pretty for everyone to come in and see everything that like aligns, and the stars aligning across all of those um, types of things I was talking about: decor, lighting, music, and it's a fun. It's not like a serious, intimate, long gala type situation. This is a I know I've said this like bold situation, but it's an afternoon fun like happy hour with a little bit of Kentucky Derby and that kind of thing all rolled into one. It feels like um, it's easy to be sitting down at night for a long period of time, and this is not that. This is like a really energetic, on your feet type of uh, uh, event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that because it is a burst of energy. And Courtney, just because you know, you've been to a few of these. I want to go back to the attire piece because to me, what sets your event apart is people come in character ready to roll, men and women. And it's not like it's not like a luncheon. I mean, there's plenty of men there along with the women, and everyone's kind of dressed up in their derby finest. So, talk a little bit about the importance of attire. And if you feel like it, I won't make you, but if you feel like it, maybe share a favorite outfit that you have seen somebody wear over the last 10 years to this event.
Oh goodness. Okay, I would have to put my thinking cap on. I mean, the best things are the hats, all the fascinators. Who has the biggest and the brightest and the most complicated? And I mean, we've seen some really crazy hats that just kind of make you wonder how they're actually staying on their head. But I think the fascinators are the most fun part. And but the men, I have to say, sometimes I think that the best dressed, well, let's be honest, like when Fady Armanus was chairing it, I think we'll probably just have to give him best dressed overall because when he shows up, it's always in something fabulous. So I think, but it also gives everybody the freedom to just have some fun, and they're like everybody looks fantastic, and it's kind of you do feel like you're getting to play dress up, like as a little girl wearing the all the fun foo-foo. It really does feel like you're playing dress up and just get to live out this fun little, fantasy for a little while. So yeah, the men with their cute bow ties and the hats, it's so much fun. It is really a great afternoon.
It really is lots of seersucker, lots of linen. I mean,
Mhm.
it's kind of it's kind of everything under under the sun. And
Yes.
I also want you to add, or if you can, kind of piggyback on what Shelby was saying, just about kind of the burst of energy thing. So what advice would you give to like another organization that's kind of doing, because your event is really, it's like a compact 2 hour event. It's not a 4 or 5 hour
Correct.
program. So what advice would you give to really maximize the impact of what Bose Place does in a short period of time?
I think we always want to hear from our chairs. We always want to tell some kind of story at our events, and it's about how do you tell that story? Which inevitably there's some sadness there. Like there's going to be some sadness when we're talking about Bo's Place because of what we do. But the idea is how do you write this story over that amount of time to where you do have that little bit of sad moment, but then how do you bring it back up? How do you get the energy back up? And so for us, we'll do more of the programming stuff on the front end, and then the energy picks back up when the races run and stuff. So I think, and also celebrating people, even though we have a sad story, we turn around and we have an award that we will recognize, the Champion of Hope, where we're recognizing somebody in the community for great work. And that's a celebration. That's a light moment. That's a happy moment. So that also that helps kind of balance that the sadness that's there, but it brings it back up, and then you get to crescendo with the race, and it just has this magical big ending. So I think it's just how you develop your event timeline and just managing that the build up and then the crescendo.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. And Shelby, I'd like for you to kind of put your own, your own spin on it, having gone through the grieving process about, it's a celebration. That's what I like about this event. It's an organization. I think it's unexpected for an organization like yours to be doing an event, a gala on something that's really kind of celebratory and people really kind of are in happy bright colors and all that. So Shelby, I'd love, from your perspective, how, maybe how, because you had said you have supported and attended in the past, how maybe attending this event has maybe helped your own grieving process, just with the lightness being able to balance, the grieving process and the heaviness that goes into that.
Yes, so attending the event is a blast. I mean, it's the best. And I went with my sister and who we obviously have a shared sister who's been lost. And I think doing something together like that is always meaningful for us. We're there with each other. I don't think any of the other people from our group had maybe were able to come or something like that. But it's bonding for us. It's bonding for us to like support Bo's Place as an organization. But it's fun. We had a great time. There's a bourbon pull wall, which is a blast. There's a silent auction, which is so interesting to see everything that's been pulled together to benefit such an amazing organization. The cocktails are also great. It's obviously Kentucky Derby is known for its cocktails, and so those are always fun to dive into. And the uh, watching the actual Derby itself is obviously um, your heart rate's up. It's a fun thing to watch and do. So I always liked attending the event itself, and I haven't been in a few years, so I'm excited to kind of be in charge of all that this year, I guess, to make sure that everyone else has a fun experience as our guest.
And that's what I really like about that, about your event, is there's a coming together for 3 minutes where everything stops, everyone stops, and everyone is looking at the same thing, and that is the screen. They call it the fastest 3 minutes in sports, for a reason, because that's what it is. You're just on the edge of your seat the whole time. And Courtney, do you have anything to add?
Oh gosh. As I'm hearing Shelby talk and thinking about celebrations, and I just there's a lot of people in the room who it's sometimes hard to reconcile grief and joy at the same time. And a lot of people in that room, it's we talk about both places. It's a safe place to cry. It's also a safe place to laugh and to have fun, which a lot of people feel guilty doing when they're grieving. And so, looking at this event and what a celebration it is, I consider it part of like Brooke's legacy. Like this is a way for us to honor Brooke's life and to celebrate her life. And so, for all of those people that have brought somebody to Bo's Place who have died, we want this is also a way to honor them and to memorialize them and to just be a part of that legacy. So to me that's so special, and it allows the event to be so joyful and such a separate celebration. So I appreciate Shelby so much and for everything that they're
You
doing.
can absolutely tell, and it's good to see, going back to that question earlier about the strong relationship, you can really see that in just how you're talking and engaging and interacting with one another. And I know we're coming up on time, but I always like to end with kind of a fun little question. And I'm interested in hearing both of your answers. Courtney, we'll have you go first, and then Shelby, you can have the last word. And that is, what is one thing all great themed events have in common?
All great themed events have in common. Um, this is not a fun answer, but it's I'm going to come back to it every time. Chairs who care. It's chairs who care. And also making sure I that assuming that there is a nonprofit involved, that you tie that in somehow, that people know why they're there, that you're there to have fun, but you're there to support something good. So think if you can tie in the mission to the fun themes so that people know we're here to do good and to have fun. That is a successful themed event.
Very well said. Tying the heart to the mission is so important. And Shelby, you get the last word today.
Well, I know that it's Courtney, you just said it. I mean, I feel like it's like do good for the mission and have fun doing it. That to me is so well said. I'm sure there's like
I love when you see this is how you all are aligned because you both
They're
had
very
this
much so,
answer.
yes, saying the same thing. And it's so true though. There's not a better way to say it. I mean, that's just truly what I think that we believe, we've experienced it, and um, we just want people to know that those places there for them if they experience it too.
Very well said, and that is the perfect note to end on. And Courtney, Shelby, thank you so much for joining us today. Shelby, I especially want to thank you for sharing your story. It was a very powerful story and one of the most impactful ones we've heard on this, on this program. So I really appreciate you both being here today and celebrating the great work of what this organization does to allow people to move forward after they lose a loved one. So thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rob. Hope to see you all on May 2nd.
I hope to be there because it is
Yes,
the
the
most.
event is May 2nd at the Revere.
Oh my God, you literally just did my tagline, which was Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes, a Kentucky Derby
Yes.
affair benefiting Post Place. Will be on May 2nd, 2026 at the Revere in Houston, Texas. For more information, please visit bosplace.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.